Yeah, we needed it. We needed to play well in all phases, but certainly offensively, we needed to have a bounce-back game and kind of carry that one, and we did. And this guy toughing out that ankle he had, showing up, like you said, it kind of epitomizes who we want to be, and there ain't no one better.
Hey-o. Welcome to Heed the Call, an NFL podcast. It's the Week 14 preview and Thursday Night Football recap, and that right there was Mr. Jared Goff after his Detroit Lions get a big win at home over the Dallas Cowboys. Final score 44-30, the game that kicks off Week 14. Dan Hanzus here with Conor Orr and Justin Graver on the ones and twos. No Mark today. I hope to have him back on Sunday. And Conor, this game played out more or less how I thought it would. Because I have respect for what the Cowboys have done. How could you not? The 3-game winning streak, beating both the Super Bowl participants. But now you're going on the road in primetime against a Detroit team that knows full well that it is going to be in deep doo-doo if they do not win this game at home. And it's a credit to Dan Campbell and his staff to have this team ready for this game, knowing the stakes. And I thought that's how they played this game. I know they weren't perfect, at least on defense, but what we saw from the offense was the type of performance led, of course, by the great Jahmyr Gibbs with 3 more touchdowns. That just reminds you that if this team can find its groove and the injury bug just leaves them alone for a week or two, they are not to be counted out in this league.
Yeah, it's a typical, I think, to soak this all in platitudes, it's a typical Lions win. It's very resilient. You're hanging on during various points. Jared Goff survived, the pressure that he faced. And when he was starting to get knocked around a little bit, he didn't do anything overly stupid. Certainly you get some help from the officials, and we can get into that, and some poor clock management and I think game management from Brian Schottenheimer. But all in all, this was one of those hallmark wins from last year that we saw from Detroit all the time. Hang around and just keep plugging at it, and something good will happen. And we saw that from them tonight. Yeah, and
what you also heard there from Jared Goff was shouting out Amon-Ra St. Brown, who doesn't practice this week and then decides to suit up. And not only suits up, he's a player in this game. You know, he wasn't himself necessarily, but still, it's pretty damn good when you're not yourself and you still go 6 for 92, and the long reception that essentially ices the game, which I thought was a great call. Getting on Schottenheimer, and we will. But Dan Campbell is the play caller, and we questioned how, they'd actually lost 2 of 3 since Campbell took over play calling. But that was exactly the type of situation, the down and distance, the time late in the fourth quarter where many teams will get conservative. They'll run the ball 3 times or call 2 runs and a very, low percentage pass in terms of downfield, and then punt the ball away and turn it over to their defense. He understood his team's strengths, and he let Goff rip it, and St. Brown makes the big catch and run to put the game away. So it's a gutty effort by St. Brown. And again, Dan Campbell understanding his team, the power of good coaching and how that helps.
And smart coaching too, right? Because what is the one thing that Dallas paid all this money and all this, well, I guess not paid all this money, traded all this equity for to fix, is their run defense. And in this game, even though Jahmyr Gibbs did have 3 rushing touchdowns and David Montgomery was gaining 10 yards a carry, it was still 3.5 yards a carry for Jahmyr Gibbs. So your main factor back there, who's out touching everybody else, isn't really getting anywhere on the ground. And so you throw the football. And I think this is what teams are going to start doing against Dallas, is rediscovering the fact that this secondary is still not that good. Even though they got some guys back, they're still not exactly where you need to be. And you can pick people off in this way. And it read like Lions fan fiction, where if you would read like this team's subreddit pages, it's like, why aren't we taking more deep shots to Isaac Tesla? And why aren't we bombing it to Jameson Williams? And Dan Campbell's probably just thumbing through it, being like, yeah, you're right. F it. And this was kind of the materialization of that effort.
Yeah, they had 6 plays of 25 or more yards in this game. And, they mentioned, I heard in the post-game show, they mentioned, you didn't go for it on fourth down today. It's like, I don't know how many times they reached fourth down in this game.
Yeah.
Because, and it was, best typified on the last possession they had. Dallas pulled within 3 points twice in the fourth quarter, including with 3:42 left when Brandon Aubrey, who's, we just went through 12 years, 13 years of Justin Tucker reinventing the kicking game. And now you have Brandon Aubrey, who is the greatest to ever do it. He hits 5 field goals in this game. He hit one from 63 that looked like a chip shot. Hits one from, I think, 57 in the first quarter. The 5th one pulls him back within a score. And what happens? Tom Kennedy. Let's give a shout out. There you go. I know you like Kennedy, Connor. The Irishman. Tom Kennedy, who had a great game returning kicks, takes it back to midfield, and they need 3 plays to go 51 yards. The 37-yarder to St. Brown, and then 2 easy for Gibbs, including the touchdown run that ices the game and gives them a 40-burger. So it was just, I like what you said. Like, this was a reminder of what their potential is and how easy it looks when the Lions are right. And there are certain teams and matchups that should spook a Lions fan still. We saw it on that Sunday night game against the Lions, against the Eagles as an example. If you can mess up the timing of this offense, but if you can't, and Dallas's defense, which had really been on a heater of sorts the last few weeks, if you can't do it, if you can't truly disrupt Goff, which they did a few times, but not enough, you're going to be in for a long night. And if you have 3 turnovers on top of that, it was just a step back for the Cowboys all the way around.
Speaking of long night, I'm playing my dad in fantasy football, and he drives me nuts because he drafts in order of the positions on the ESPN page. So he'll take quarterback, running back, wide receiver. And so it's like the 6th round, and I'm like, Dad, don't take a kicker. And he just drafts Brandon Aubrey, and I have Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm fucking losing to my dad right now because Brandon Aubrey has like 30 points, and now it's just going to validate his decision making. And
wait, does your dad have some type of like compulsive nature where he must do it that way, an obsessive nature to him? Like, does he understand the rules that you don't have to draft in the order? Like, it does sound like a very like baby boomer dad move, but at the same time, it feels like something the son should just step in and be like, Dad, you shouldn't do it this way. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
I've tried so many different times, and yeah, I mean, I'm like, it's the 4th round. We don't need a defense, and but he just he does it his way. It's
my grandpa does the exact same thing. One year he took Eli Manning in the 1st round for unbelievably, and then he'll do his bench. He will recreate the starters, so he'll go first bench as quarterback. He'll draft 2 kickers. It's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And did you try to make it clear to your grandfather that
of course we try to tell him, but it's like he's doing it his way, and you can't really stop it.
It's like telling them to stop smoking or using inappropriate words that they're not supposed to use at Burger King anymore, but they still do it.
Any thoughts about the Cowboys? I know you must have loved this. Connor, you are not someone who wants the Cowboys to be successful this season, and I think the stat that's out there after this game is their chances of making the playoffs are less than, I think, 15% or so. So you're going to get your dream. No Dallas in the playoffs. I want to point out that the officiating in this game was wretched, and including the play on the tight end, the OPI call on Ferguson was one of the worst calls I've seen in quite some time, where he actually gets hooked. It's a DPI, so it should be 1st and goal at the 1 instead of 4th and 3. But Terry McCauley he's the rules analyst for Amazon. He says, he does kind of a swim move to get open, and that's perfectly legal. And I'm thinking to myself, we're going to get another one of these. I don't know if you've noticed it. It's one of my favorite tropes of Thursday Night Football. When either McCauley, and it happened on the near safety in the first half, when either McCauley or Al, typically, Herb Street he's not plugged in enough, he doesn't give a shit. But like when Al or McCauley call out the officiating and say, well, that's an error. But especially McCauley, because McCauley's the guy that's supposed to be the ombudsman of all this. They'll go to break, and you can bet on it. Somebody gets in their ear and says, correct yourself. We didn't get it wrong. The NFL doesn't like this stage pointing out that the officiating has a problem, but that was a problem. Blowing that call essentially ended the game. I don't think Dallas wins the game either way because they couldn't get a stop against this offense, but that took the game out of reach because Schottenheimer then opts to kick the field goal, which I think is part of what your issue was with some of the Schottenheimer decision-making, Connor. And so it's a 4-point swing essentially, and the game was all but done after the Kennedy return.
Sure. And we'll get to that in a second. Just quickly, though, from Sunday Night Football on, and we talked about it on Sunday now, this is twice in 3 standalone games that a rules analyst has correctly said that this is such a blatant and unforgivably bad call that it's wrong. And
right. It's not even a judgment call that's wrong. It's a misinterpretation of what the actual rule book says, which is an even worse transgression.
Yeah, I mean, Cowboys fans, I had to laugh because Chase Daniel, and I can't remember if he played for the Cowboys or not, but he was like, "This is BS. The NFL doesn't want to see the Cowboys in the playoffs." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
I actually quote retweeted it, and then he replied to me personally, Chase, and he was like, "Yeah, that's you're right." I said, "There's a lot of things. I said, Chase, like I'm all for conspiracy theories, but the NFL wants the Cowboys in the playoffs.
They would,
They need the Cowboys in the playoffs. They're not trying to keep them out of it." And Chase did see the light there.
College football doesn't want Notre Dame in the but there were 2 field goal mistakes. I thought not kicking the field goal at the end of the game because really you have Brandon Aubrey and you're down by that many points. You have to know that if you score the touchdown there, you could try him from 70 and it doesn't matter as much how much time is on the clock on the back end. But I also thought before the half, and I forget who pointed this out, but I saw it and I thought it was a valid criticism. Right before the half, you had the long Aubrey field goal as well. And what happened was you immediately threw your field goal unit on the field. You didn't even try to make the Lions think that you might keep your unit on the field. And so what happens is Detroit gets to immediately use their timeout. You have to kick the field goal, and then they get the ball back with enough time to drive down and kick for them as well. If you would have kept the offense on the field and utilize that time a little bit better and even just milk the clock and tried to make them jump or do anything, because I forget what the down and distance was there, but you're costing yourself points. And that Lions offense was on fire with the pass game today, so you don't want them on the field. And so I thought that was a mistake too.
Yep. And you need a touchdown at some point in those last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
You're right there in the red zone. Go get the touchdown if you can get it, and then you have the best kicker in the universe. Give him a chance from 73 if you can get anywhere near scoring range if you get the ball back. The Cowboys playoff odds dropped to 10% with the loss, according to The Athletic. And if you look at the Cowboys' upcoming schedule here, it's easy. It's a good schedule, but now they got the 6th loss. And as we talked about earlier in the week, this is a very difficult conference to make the playoffs as a wild card. So you kind of got to get the division. And now the Eagles have a gift wrap set up if they can win on Monday night. They have, after this, Dallas has home Vikings, home Chargers, at Commanders, at Giants. They more or less have to go 10-6-1 and then hope one of the teams ahead of them stumbles. And on the other side of it, the Lions still, it's no sure thing that the Lions are going to get to the playoffs, but they needed this one because the schedule is tougher for them. They have at Rams, home Steelers, at Vikings, at Bears. So, they at 8-5 are in better position than the Cowboys, but not in the clear yet. Fun game, good game. Nice to see the Lions look like the Lions again. Dan Campbell high-fiving the security guard as he leaves the field.
Notice that.
All right, there you go. We're just getting started here. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, me, Connor, little Brian Baldinger, a little Dasher the Gravedigger, we'll take you all the way through Week 14. Stay right there.
Let's be honest, finding the right therapist can feel way harder than it should. Long wait lists, confusing insurance, expensive sessions. It's no wonder that so many people put it off. That's why I'm a fan of Rula. They make therapy simple, fast, and affordable.
That's right, Mark. Rula connects you to over 15,000 licensed therapists and psychiatrists across the country, so you could find someone who really fits you. They work with most insurance plans, and copays start at just $15. Think about that. less than a takeout lunch, but way better for your mental health.
It's great. And Dan, here's the best part. Rula sticks with you. They help you book appointments, keep track of your progress, and make sure your care is actually helping. Every provider is carefully vetted, so you know you're in good hands. Getting started is quick. Answer a few questions, get your personalized list of in-network providers, and you could be talking to a therapist as soon as tomorrow.
Thousands of guys have already used Rula to finally get the care that they need. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/HTC and get started today. That's RULA.com/HTC. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. All right, we are back. Thursday Night Football in the rear view. And now, Connor, we roll into the bulk of Week 14. This is the last week of buys. The Patriots, the Giants, the 49ers, and the Panthers are all off. And if you have, let's see, I don't know, Drake May on your fantasy team, or Jackson Dart, or Christian McCaffrey, or Bryce Young, that's a tough one for your fantasy team if you're trying to make the playoffs. But that's the way it goes, Connor. That's life, and life's about understanding that there are challenges that you have to overcome.
It is. We recently welcomed one of our very young nieces and nephews into the family fantasy league, and I stomped one of them out last week with the playoffs on the line, and I needed them to know that this is mostly what life feels like. You're not going to have what you need, and an older person hanging on to past glory is going to kick you in the teeth just to get a little feel. Yeah,
that's good. I'm the commissioner of a kids only fantasy league in the town, and we gathered at the local Richmond Bar and Grill in the back patio area. We held the draft. Dads were allowed to help for the first 3 rounds, I believe it was, and then there was hands off, and the kids had to do it. And I began the speech before the draft began. I went specifically to my local bank, and I said, I need $100, and I need a crisp $100 bill. And I held the $100 bill, and I said, first place gets this. And you say that to a bunch of 9 and 10 year olds. I mean, their heads exploded. Second place gets nothing. And I thought that was a good lesson on capitalism and life in general. That we're not handing out any participation trophies in my fantasy league that I run for children. For money.
What's the Willy Wonka? It's like, you lose, you get nothing.
Exactly. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's get to the rest of Week 14. And it's a big week. It's a fun week because there's so many important games. We've reached the stage of the season where teams are really in danger of missing the playoffs on the back of one loss. And especially the way, and we've been talking about really since Sunday, the way the AFC looks, the way that the top-heavy NFC looks. These games are huge. So let's get into them. We're going to start with the primetime games this week because they're pretty solid, rock solid, in fact. Let's start with the number 15 Houston Texans, now 7-5 and on a 4-game winning streak, traveling to Arrowhead to face the number 11 Kansas City Chiefs, 6-6. And Connor, I think Andy Reid said it himself. They got to go tickle some tonsils. I still don't know what it means, but they got to go tickle some tonsils here, and they got to start winning every week. And I don't know if they win this game. This is going to be a tough game for a Kansas City team that's shown us time and time again this year. They can't just flip the switch like the old days.
They can't, because it's so dependent now defensively on a really good Chris Jones week, which they're just going to be a little bit fewer and far between as he gets older. And that's just a fact of life for a pass rushing interior tackle. And then offensively, I think they got to really turn back the clock and go pre-Rashee Rice quick game in this one, because Houston is so aggressive and they're just going to get after you in every way. And so what does that look like if you're Andy Reid? What does it look like if you're Kansas City? And can you even play that way at this point in the season? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Did you see, by the way, I like this a lot, as someone who is known to give it out a nickname or two. CJ Stroud was asked about the Kansas City defense. Just listening.
What are some of the things you see from Karlaftis and also Stone Cold have a follow-up?
Who?
What do you see from Karlaftis and Stone Cold Jones?
I don't know. That's what people call them. That's what people call them?
Oh, yes.
Oh, cool.
Now, I don't want to be ignorant on this. Maybe is this a well-known thing that Chris Jones is known as Stone Cold Jones? Have you guys heard this before?
I have not heard this before. I actually
that's incredibly ballsy to in a press conference to roll out a nickname that's not nationally known.
Well, I will say I agree. Not nationally known is crazy, but apparently I should have known because I quote tweeted a clip of this on Twitter and said, I refuse to believe anyone has ever called him this. And I got Ryan Bartlett, our former colleague at NFL, my old boss at Fox Sports, big time Chiefs fan, replied, wrong. I got another reply. I'm a Chiefs fan and I've only heard it a few times. Pretty sure it is or used to be on his Twitter. And one more. He has it, but he started it. He has, but it started when he called himself this. I don't know if that should count. So
Connor, I'll tee it up this way again, because giving oneself a nickname, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. What I find I have an issue with here is the presumptiveness of the reporter to drop that to the quarterback of another team that plays in a faraway state. I just don't think you can get away with that. So I'm going to deduct this reporter 12 points and send him back to J school.
100%. I mean, this is just an insane thing to do. And I know I've said this on the show before, but I was covering the Giants the year that Janoris Jenkins wanted to be referred to as Jackrabbit in all personal.
Oh, yes.
And I was just like, no, you can't. And we have to call each other by our names or else society falls apart. But I just can't imagine how stupid you would feel to call a grown man that at a press conference. I don't know. That's
it almost felt like a joke. I don't know. Let's get back to the matchup. But so here's what I'm concerned about if I'm a Chiefs fan. What you said is fair about Stone Cold. That maybe he's not the same Stone Cold as he. I mean, we cover the league.
It's not every week.
I've been doing. Yeah, I'm getting. If we don't know that he's Stone Cold Jones, and we've been doing a podcast as long as he has played professional football, let us be the arbiter of this. Nationally, you're not allowed to do that. Anyway, here's the problem for the Chiefs beyond Stone Cold Jones. Josh Simmons is on IR with that wrist injury. Jalen Moore is now protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side. He got his ass kicked by the Cowboys last week, and I understand the Cowboys have really, in an almost stunning way, turned around their season in large part because their defensive line just started balling out with the help, of course, of Quinnen Williams. But now you're going to put more on this in this matchup with Will Anderson. If Patrick Mahomes struggled to have time to make the plays he needed to make last week for the Chiefs, what's going to happen against this Houston pass rush, which is the best in the AFC outside maybe the Denver Broncos?
Best in the AFC, and then you add in the complementary nature of that secondary that's going to make you pay a lot more than Dallas's secondary is going to. It's a rat trap game for Kansas City. And again, it's gonna be Indianapolis-esque, where they're gonna need a perfect Steve Spagnuolo game, they're gonna need a perfect Chris Jones game, and they're gonna need over 100 rushing yards to stay in this one, because it's not one of those Patrick Mahomes magic games, because if he extends plays or tries to run the ball in this one, it's gonna be over.
What did you see from Stroud last week? I really liked the way he played in the last three quarters. His stat line did not really tell the story. I thought he looked good. I think Nico Collins is playing his best football of the year. They've gotten a little bit more out of their running game in recent weeks. I just feel like this team in general is really trending up.
They are. And I think what they've figured out, I loved the opening script. I went back and I watched the first 20 plays of Stroud actually right before we were talking about this. A lot of quick game, A lot of stuff over the middle where he's comfortable throwing the ball, and they're getting him into games better, and they're getting the ball out of his hands faster because he was hovering around 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds. That's too long for him. He's not one of those guys that likes to evade and extend the plays. He's very accurate and he's very decisive. Just let him do that. Play Patriots ball because like we talked about with New England last week, that is succeeding right now. It's negating blitzes. It's negating pressure. And so let him keep doing that. I think it's good.
I think the Texans win this game. Am I crazy?
Ooh.
I think they go to Arrowhead. I'm not going to lock it up or anything. I think the Justin's nodding his head. What do you think, Justin? I just feel like they are a really tough matchup for Kansas City, and I think Kansas City is going to find themselves in another one-score game. They've been losing these all year, and I just kind of trust what Houston's doing on both sides of the ball and their coaching to negate what usually is an advantage for Kansas City as well in that department.
I feel like the Texans are the team that has improved one of the teams that has improved the most since where we were the first month of the season. And another thing, like to your point about Stroud and getting the ball out, and I saw a stat on Twitter this week, when the Chiefs have blitzed this season, they are allowing the second most yards per play. They have the 6th worst success rate, and they have the 5th worst pressure rate. In the previous 3 seasons, they were 1st in yards per play when they blitzed, 3rd in success rate when they blitzed, and 2nd in pressure rate when they blitzed. So they're trying to do the same things, but either offensive coordinators have figured them out or the personnel just isn't as good. And I think that if they try to do that against Stroud this week, he's going to continue playing like he's been playing. And I'm like all in on the Texans to go win the AFC South and actually win a playoff game maybe.
I think the issue with that stat too is the timing of it, because remember in those Super Bowls when Spags was so masterful, it was the timing of those. It was when he decided to do it versus needing to do it out of necessity. And I think that's when you F up your sample size and you start blowing up your opposing stats, which I think happened in this case.
All right, let's move to Monday Night Football. Another good matchup. The number 9 Eagles, 8-4 at the number 13 Chargers, also 8-4. Justin Herbert did have that procedure on Monday to set or repair, I don't know, a broken bone in his hand. The latest on this is that he's got his eyes on playing this game, which is crazy. Here's Herbert.
It's just getting the swelling down. That's been the most important thing the past couple of days of
handsome guy.
Just getting back acclimated, getting it moving, and doing everything I can to be out there.
Sometimes I get mad, I'm very blessed in many ways in my life, and I understand that. And I try to keep that in perspective. But then you see Justin Herbert casually answering a question like that, and you look at all the things, and you say, that's a lot of things that one person was given by whoever it is that gives out things.
You know what, though? You don't know how it balances out. Like I was reading this thing the other day about this wealthy man who during critical moments in his life, like beautiful moments in his life, couldn't stop hearing the Pink Panther theme song. And so it's one of those things where like maybe Justin Herbert has one of those things going on where like maybe he witnesses like the birth of his first child, but like the theme song from Step by Step keeps playing or something like that. Like he's haunted by that on some deeper level. You don't know.
Any of those cultural references track for you, Gravedigger?
Step by step, day by day.
Yeah.
No song has had less need for a gospel choir in it, like the whitest sitcom that ever existed in the 90s. And it later, I think in the end of that, so it's like,
better. Second time around.
We don't need it. You know both those references, Pink Panther and Step by Step?
Oh, Pink Panther, of course. Big Steve Martin fan, but Step by Step, not heard of that.
Legend knows all the words to every song, Dan. You remember.
Ooh, that should be the next challenge on the Patreon, a little step-by-step rap verse. Like opposites attract with Paula Abdul. Like just drop one in there.
Oh, Paula Abdul, the American Idol judge. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough. Now we know what you're doing. All right. Also, this was reported on Thursday. Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter is out for Monday night's game after undergoing a procedure earlier this week. Now, this is a little troubling, Con Man. On both of his shoulders. Football player crashing into other humans every Sunday, has surgery on both shoulders. Carter is now undergoing treatment on both those shoulders, and he will be considered week to week. I guess the goal here is, and this is a weird one, this is from the Schefter report, Carter wanted to be as close to 100% as possible for the playoff run. Listen, Jalen, I don't know if you realize, but 2 weeks ago, maybe that quote or that reporting doesn't leave me squinting, but you're in a race right now for the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys. They're playing their balls off. And then you have a playoff field that's very tight in the wild card ranks. If this team stumbles, I'm not saying he should be playing. I'm just saying, like, the idea that you're looking to rest up to get ready for the playoffs. This is a weird and wild NFC playoff race.
And this is around, God, it was like Christmas time, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago when the Eagles' defensive front was down really bad. And remember Howie Roseman came out and he went out and signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh for no other reason than to spell these guys because they were just exhausted and beat up, and he knew that that was the lifeblood of the defense. I don't think guys like that are just sitting out there anymore. I mean, you know, unless Aaron Donald is out there, but the Rams own his rights. Like, there's nobody out there to spell them. They've gotten picked apart in free agency, and that's the reality of this. Without pressure from that defensive line, Zach Bond doesn't get to run as free. You know, Jihad Campbell doesn't get to run as free. It's not the same defense.
Can you imagine what would happen if the Eagles lay another stinker here in prime time? I mean, this conversation around them will really start to spiral into, you know, more and more focus on that. And I have a feeling with this team, some of that noise, you know, is difficult to shut out. And there are some cracks, obviously, it feels like at times in that locker room. And yeah, this, I think, is a very important game for the Eagles. Like, for all the reasons we've already said about how the NFC playoff race has really tightened up, to go to Los Angeles and get a win against a very good Chargers team, and I'm assuming Herbert's going to play, you could kind of quiet a lot of these things down and really reassert yourself as the favorite in the NFC, maybe even go out and get a bye. You lose this game, the waves that are from rough seas to a building tidal wave. I feel like this is a big test for Sirianni's bunch.
I agree with you, although I do wonder if there's two sides to it. Are they so acclimated to the noise that it's really only us feeling the noise and getting a sense of the noise and the hysteria in that market, or is the pressure real? And the only reason that I believe it's real is because Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie have fired coaches way earlier than I think other people would have, and 2 years after winning a Super Bowl for Doug Peterson. So the expectation is always to go out there and be exceptional, and so I do think that that's part of what's maybe creating the unease in some way.
And you know, the Chargers, even though they've been dealing with a ton of injuries this year, and Jim Harbaugh and his staff deserves a lot of credit, just like we say for Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco and his staff, but their defense is still top 10 in EPA per play and success rate. And Philadelphia offense that has not been able to get on track. Did you know? I know we all know that Saquon Barkley is not having close to the same season as last year. He is currently on pace to barely eclipse 1,000 yards rushing. This is a guy that ran for 2,000 yards last year, and that inability to have him as this driver of the offense continues to be a thorn in their side. And I know everybody's has talked about it, but in some ways, like, we've seen it so many times, the guys that have the monster running back seasons usually come down to earth a little bit, but this whole thing has crashed, and it's not all on him. Obviously, it's scheme, it's the offensive line play. But it really is startling to see him, you know, what is it, probably about 3.7 yards per carry. And you thought at some point he was going to snap out of it, and maybe he still will. But now we're in December, and this is a guy that routinely we're seeing the 20 for 65 stat line or something like that. And it's really stunning in a lot of ways.
He's been wanting to get outside, and has done his best work outside, and that is maybe one of the very few Achilles heels of this Chargers defense. And so I think that's something to watch, where can they push Saquon back inside where he's been wholly ineffective this season and kind of funnel him to where they want him. Because if Saquon does get the edge in this game and get outside the tackles and get free, I do think that that's where some of the magic might start happening again. But you're right. I mean, at what point does that happen? And is your offensive line even healthy enough to facilitate something like that?
I want to, before we turn the page and get out of this game, I saw a tweet you had that I totally agreed with wholeheartedly regarding Egggate and
Sure.
Patullo, the OC. He spoke on it, by the way, which is a very funny thing. Let's check that out.
It's perfectly acceptable to sit up here and talk about what's going on,
He's so
how to
pissed.
fix it, what we're going to do going forward, and we know that. But when it involves your family, obviously crosses the line. And so that happened. And at this point, we just got to move on. We're trying to win. That's all we want to do is focus. Whether it's my family, whether it's the team, all we're trying to do together is focus on this week.
Yeah, get off your Dom take, because I really enjoyed it.
It's so weird because I know Kevin. He is like a great dad, great human, and so you feel for him in that moment as a person, but I also know that I've egged probably 50 houses in my lifetime. And so it's hard for me to come out and say and if it's grown men, which it sounds like it was on the clip, that is unacceptable. If they're idiot kids, it's not acceptable. But then also I can't say anything because I did it. But anyway, there was this scene
suburban dirtbag revels in statute of limitations, the Conor Orr story.
I hope so, right? Because there's a lot of property damage that I can get out of it. But there's that scene in Batman where the guy's going to out Bruce Wayne, and Morgan Freeman is basically like, so you're saying that your boss is this total animal who spends his nights and weekends just killing people, and your plan is to just tell on this guy? Good luck. And I think with the people who egged Kevin Patullo's house, it's fun idea for you. However, Big Dom is one of the scariest and most powerful people in the northeast portion of the United States. And I think you're wholly underestimating his ability to find you and bury you underneath the Naval Yard in Philadelphia, and you're never heard from again. So
he is absolutely, Dom DeSandro is bulletproof in Philadelphia. I replied to your tweet that guy has more PBA cards than the perps here have brain cells. He's friends with all the cops. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He might have buried some of them himself. So the idea that and this is exactly the type of case that Dom lives for. I mean, I feel like they put Dom on this case, find these motherfuckers, and bring them to their knees. So if you are out there, it's like what in Ocean's 11, when Terry Benedict gets on the phone after he realizes he's been had, and he's like, now I'm going to tell you what to do. Run. That's what I say to these perps. If you're listening to our show right now, turn this damn thing off and go find a hole and get into it and lay low for about 6 to 12 years.
Here's the thing.
Dominic DeSandro, Big Dom. And
he's got that guy in his corner.
Sort of a legend.
So I just want to put a button on it by saying this. And a lot of people reply to that and they're like, oh, yeah, come get me, Dom. What would you do? Okay, I've done stories on every single corner of football organizations. You have no idea how connected even the worst director of security in the NFL is. The worst one has FBI ties. The worst one could call any person in any place in the world and get something done immediately. You have a guy that just doesn't have a passport and magically appears in London the next day for a game. All this stuff happens because of the directors of security. Dom is the Liam Neeson from Taken version of that. So it's even scarier. Don't look at me and say that this guy cannot your world up, because he can absolutely find you and your world up. And he's
this is 50% of what his job responsibilities are. He's a fixer. Idiot. Stupid idiots. Hide. Run. All right, let's take a break. And when we get back, it's Squad Box time. You know what the holidays mean in my house. Well, you don't live in my house, but you can understand. It's chaos. There's shopping, hosting, gifting, and about 1,000 little things in between. But I've learned to make it easier on myself at Bob's Discount Furniture. I love gifting, and honestly, why not go big this year? Forget about another candle.
Right.
Get a power reclining sofa for just $9.99, which honestly, that's insane. That's a great deal. They've got those sploosh chairs for kids. I know Sessler has one on his mind for himself. I also, I'm a Bob's guy. I got 2 outdoor rocking chairs and also got this storage bed for the bedroom. We have space issues at our house, Mark, and having the storage bed, I can put a bunch of stuff under the bed and forget about it forever, which is my goal.
No, it's ideal for your type of household situation. There's some incredible items here. And if you're looking to freshen things up before the guests arrive, there are tons of smaller items too. Stylish decor, accent pieces, the works. Whether you're gifting, hosting, or just trying to make your space holiday ready, you can do it all without the stress. Shop, haggle, and hassle-free when you holiday the Bob's way.
Bob's way, baby! All right, Connor, we are back. We've put a clock, a timer now on the quad box. Justin, what was it last week?
23 and a half seconds on the dot.
So the introduction graphic and the accompanying sound clip for this segment is now closing in on half a minute long. Does it get to 30 seconds?
I was listening, and you guys did a great Monday show. I'm still catching up on the Wednesday show. But on the Monday show, I wrote down that Mark was commenting on Ben Johnson's body. And then Justin had like a non sequitur where he was like, I'm in good shape. Like, I'm checking myself out, something like that. And I thought that would be a really good fit for the quad box.
In the future,
so.
shoot us a note on that.
I will.
I don't think that one made it, but Justin will now certainly go dig it up and make sure it's in next
I'll
week's.
find it and I'll send it to you because I thought it was a little dirtier than that, and I think it would blend in well.
I remember I said, like, I was, as Ben Johnson, why he took his shirt off wasn't like I'm hot, look at me, I have a hot bod. It was because everyone gets free hot dogs. But and
we've also started to sniff this out, Connor, that Justin sometimes is saying things with more of a ulterior motive behind it. Maybe he's starting to drop sound bites to get into the quad box.
I don't want to be in the quad box now. No, thank you.
I don't want to underestimate how much I view Justin's upcoming wedding as a reporting trip for me, because just talking to friends from home and just seeing the totality of what I'm dealing with is very important to me. And so I'm going to take that job very seriously.
I love that. All right. Without further ado, the quad box.
Sit back and watch the powder keg explode.
How fatal are your warts?
Dope as
God rest his soul was O.J. Simpson.
Tickle your tonsils.
Somebody's coming out.
Jim's mustache. I love the way he speaks.
And I want that known.
This team is DT.
Put on your socks and
makes me sick
Of course, the mythical Pike Haken.
NFL fans, Kathy Bates here.
Or
respectfully.
Oh my God.
Kathy Bates is like the cranberry sauce that holds that whole Thanksgiving sandwich together.
Exactly.
Really, she is.
Yeah, she is. She's so important, both to our show and Matlock is a Lady now, exclusively on CBS and its streaming platform Paramount. All right, let's get into the quad box. We're going to pick the 4 games that matter most in Week 14 for you to follow. And let's start with an easy one, a layup. The number 22 Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-6, at the number 19 Baltimore Ravens, 6-6. Nance and Romo on the call. You know, there's the Lamar Jackson health issue is real, and we know it. This is the, I believe, 4th consecutive week where he has missed practices, and some of that, obviously, I remember famously, I think during that first Super Bowl run for the Giants, Plaxico Burress just didn't practice one year. That was just all about like pain management and body maintenance and everything. And maybe that's part of what this is. But when Lamar is now, I think 3 straight weeks without a passing touchdown, and the numbers and the production, and it's not there, and the team obviously misses that. So he was not participating in practice on Thursday with an ankle issue, and that's something to keep an eye on. Now, on the other side of the field at the quarterback position, we'll see what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, who looked every bit his now 42 years. He just celebrated a birthday with the cast on the left hand. He got his face busted open after a sack in that game. So you have two quarterbacks that are not fully right, and two teams, Conor, that are not fully right, and yet the team that wins this game has control of the AFC North.
We forget that last year, I think it was their first matchup between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, that Mike Tomlin had a killer game plan for Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers won that game. And that was like a Russell Wilson game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Baltimore got the better of him in the second matchup. But I do think that Tomlin has that in his back pocket available to him, especially because Lamar is not going to kill you with his legs. We've seen that over the last few weeks. Now, the flip side to that is I think Baltimore's offense is in better shape than will admit to at this point. Like, they had a lot of points taken off the board against them and in Cincy last week. And so interesting to see what happens, but I don't think this is a game where Pittsburgh necessarily gets steamrolled. And man, do they need this one way more than Baltimore.
Yeah. And there have been a lot of, it's been building the pressure on Pittsburgh. And we talked about the fire Tomlin chance. They've done a good job, I feel like, shutting a lot of that out. Even had Ben Roethlisberger chiming in that it might be time for a head coaching change. I think this is the type of game where I think Tomlin is going to have this team ready. I kind of like Pittsburgh in this game. And just when everyone wants to count this team out, I feel like they might have something in them here. And I think a lot of it is because I just don't love the way Baltimore looked. I thought their defense was, especially in the second half, shredded by Joe Burrow. And the offense without Lamar being Lamar is a problem. Now, remember, this is Lamar season now. December and January, since 2018, this team has always been the best team in the league record-wise, and he's been an absolute monster. Here's a good stat from Jamison Hensley at ESPN. They're 22-4 in December and January since Lamar hit the scene, and Lamar has thrown 53 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Will we get some type of bounce back? Now, it's not a magical flip the switch and now Lamar's going to be Lamar again because the calendar is December, but he has completed less than 60% of his passes. I mentioned he hasn't thrown a touchdown, hasn't run for a touchdown either. They're getting 0 out of the quarterback position. So it just, like, everything feels different about the Baltimore Ravens because of that. They're just not getting that MVP caliber play from the best and most important player on their field.
I feel like this is a Tomlin's last stand moment too, because the way that he prefers to play games, as a lot of defensive coaches do, right, is I want to control time of possession. I want to force my opponent to make mistakes, and I want to do the bare minimum on offense in terms of, I'm not risking anything. I'm not doing anything crazy. This is the perfect arena for the way that Tomlin likes to play, because you're not going to have to get into a scoring match with Baltimore. It's not going to be a shootout, and the way that you play offensively is going to negate the Kyle Hamiltons a little bit. It's going to take them out of it because everything is just quick game for Rodgers and adjusting things at the line of scrimmage. So we'll see what happens. That Lamar injury, like you said, is huge. It just changes the complexion of everything.
I mean, they were kind of a joke on offense, Pittsburgh, last week. They had the ball for 18 minutes. And this is the Steelers. This is the same game. It is it's a bit of a car crash game because everything you think you know about the Ravens in recent years, they're just not that right now. And you're expecting them to be, but they're not. Then Pittsburgh just let the Buffalo Bills set a record for yardage by an opponent in their stadium in a game that they didn't possess the ball. Like, Aaron Rodgers, there has to be some accountability here too. And I know Mark and I defended Rodgers a little bit for the comments he made after the game, and then we heard that there was a birthday cake party or something for his birthday, and all of his receivers and offensive players were there with him. I guess that was, I don't know who leaked that or who got paid off for that one to show that everything was fine with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they better come out with a game plan that has some ball control elements to it because you can't leave that defense, which is simply not good enough and has not been good enough all year, out on an island to win games for you because they're not capable of doing that.
Wonder what Rodgers' birthday cake preference is. Is he like a standard Dairy Queen ice cream cake kind of guy, or is he like, where do you find him coming down on the spectrum there? Do you think that there's cake at all, or do they come over and it's just like?
I think there's a cake. I don't think he touches it, and I think he might even privately chew out a personal assistant afterwards for it even being him being put in a position to have the cake. And certainly, is there a wife there? Maybe the wife would be involved. Like, I didn't hear anything about a wife. So if he's celebrating his 42nd birthday with all his receivers and everything, like, she's still not around? Like, I didn't see her in the stories about this.
So two things. First, because I was looking up on your drive extending point, Pittsburgh is 30th or 31st, I'm sorry, in average drive time, and then 29th in the average number of plays. They're only averaging like just over 5 plays a drive, which is awful, and they need to find a way to rectify that. But B, another Rodgers conspiracy theory. Have you ever seen the Disney Channel original movie Smart House?
Missed that one.
Yeah,
Of course.
Justin. Yeah, Smart House is classic. So maybe Rodgers is. I was thinking about Rodgers maybe being married to his smart house. It was like, so this was like before AI or Siri or anything like that, and this was in like the 1990s, and they won this house that talked to them and like was very maternal. I believe the mother died, and she was trying to take over various aspects of their life personally. So maybe
is it like Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson? That film?
A little bit, slightly more maternal. So maybe Rodgers' spin on this one.
This I buy into.
Yeah. It's just a little bit different, but yeah, and we got to check his wording on things. Did he say married, or did he say like I got plugged in this offseason or something? He's often tricky with his wording.
Exactly. It's the language that you got to watch with Rodgers. Let's pick this game real quick. I guess I'm in too deep now. I'll go Steelers 20, Ravens 17.
Oh yeah. 21-18 Steelers. I'm right there.
Gravy.
Give me the Ravens in the shootout, 30-27.
Really?
That's not going to happen.
Well, that goes against all of our analysis on this game, and let's see what happens. Yes, it probably will.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
All right, Connor, what's next in the quad box?
All right, boys. So I am trying to avoid, but this week you really can't, unless I throw like the.
You got a layup here, Connor.
I think I have.
There's 2 layups here, actually. So
I agree. But I'm going, and this is like a classic Dan. This is like a classic Dan Patreon draft move. But I'm taking Bengals and Bills. Number 20 Bengals, 4-8 at the number 5 Bills, 1 p.m. That's the Davis and Olsen game. But you get Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Come on, baby, let's go.
Pump it in my veins.
Yes,
I love it. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I'm going to give you a chance to walk back some of your Joe Burrow stuff now, Connor. Look at the first 2 weeks of the season. He was like the top 27 quarterback, and now we're going to expect him to come back and hit the ground running. Did you watch? He did have a little rust. It took him about a quarter and a half. And then in the third and fourth quarter, he played at the highest level of any player in the sport.
Correct.
His accuracy, not just hitting guys that are open, hitting them in stride. He was a beautiful specimen of a quarterback, and exactly him making the point for me that you never bet against special. And I thought that was a special return, even if statistically it didn't blow you away. As you watched that game and you saw once he kind of got into the action, it looked like he hadn't missed a beat. I mean, that's why this game is great, because it would not stun me to see him just ball out and stick a fork potentially in the Bills, and all of a sudden, as the Steelers and Ravens fart around, the Bengals actually start gaining momentum and maybe do something that nobody thought could happen. But it has to start right here, and he has to back up all the hype I just pumped into the gas tank.
Unsurprisingly, I'm not going to walk it back, but I was just merely suggesting that as it happens, it does take him some time to warm up. His first few games of most seasons are not great, and so I figured he almost had an off season's worth of time between those games, and maybe we just didn't get the full Joe Burrow experience. Now he looks fantastic. His pocket movement is phenomenal. However, I think that the central focus of this game is going to be, can Chase Brown pick up enough extra yardage to stay with James Cook? Because this is going to be a bonanza running back game. Both of these running defenses are awful, and both of these running backs are two of the three, I think, most efficient running backs in the NFL right now. I think the past game kind of cancels each other out, what those guys can do, and I think it's about who controls the ground, who runs the ball well, and who picks up extra yards after first contact.
Yeah, Cook has been the engine of the Bills' offense. I saw a stunning graphic about the average depth of target for Josh Allen over the last 5 seasons, I think it was. And, obviously it was extreme against Pittsburgh, and that there was a couple factors there, both with personnel, but also the weather conditions and their game plan. And obviously they're running the ball well, but everything, it's hard. It's hard for me, as I love watching Josh Allen play, to see him kind of in that type of mode where everything is near the line of scrimmage. But they're playing a certain type of football right now. And James Cook, though, has been the one thing they could count on. In fact, all 4 of the Bills' losses this year have come when Cook runs for less than 100 yards. So he's the guy. And if you can get him going, and that's going to open up a lot, including downfield passing for Buffalo here. I guess I would love to see a shootout here between Allen and Burrow. I just wonder if that's realistic, the way the Bills are set up right now.
Totally agree. I mean, that's just what I was going to say. The Bengals are prepped for a shootout. They're armed for a shootout. Are the Bills? And I don't know. And will they play in a way that tries to negate that in any possible manner? And so that's kind of what I'm looking at there.
Yeah, and Cincinnati, like we mentioned, we have the division, the battle for the division. In Baltimore is 2 6-6 teams. Cincinnati is 4-8. They used up all their rope already, so they need to find a way to win. And I guess that Cincinnati defense, it's kind of fitting to me that if they end up getting killed, it won't be because Joe Burrow fails. It will be because the defense has another one of those games and they lose 37-34. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I do think that we're going to get a lot of scoring. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think I might have the first pick, Justin, in the HTC draft exclusively on Patreon this week. And this is a game that I might not want to miss, even though on the surface, it's not a great matchup. It really is. And I think you're going to have whenever you have 2 teams with a ton of urgency and 2 superstar quarterbacks in their prime, I'd be very surprised if this is not a highly entertaining affair.
I'm putting on a big, comfortable blanket, and I'm letting Greg Olsen talk football to me, baby, because if we finally have a marquee matchup between 2 elite quarterbacks with our best color analyst in the booth, and not Romo and not Brady. No offense, guys. You're just not at that level right now. This is just going to be, it's going to be so tasty. I can't wait.
By the way, that James Cook, the James Cook game, James Cook is going to have a big game here. I think absolutely. I think the Bills are going to, I kind of like the Bills to find a way in the shootout. The Bengals have the second last in EPA per rushing play. And they've been a little better in recent weeks, but it just feels like the stage is set for Cook to do damage and then Allen to have a Allen game. Now, what's the deal? Do we have any updates? Last thing on this, Justin, do we have any updates on the Bills tackles? Because that also factored into their game plan and getting the ball out quickly. Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown, I believe they're both questionable right now. That could be a difference maker in this. Dalton Kincaid also questionable with a hamstring. Trey Hendrickson, doubtful, so we're not going to get him. See anything there, Justin?
Spencer Brown he was at practice on Thursday. We're recording this midday, so we don't have the injury report. So I would guess limited, but he was at least out there. Deion Dawkins, met with the media, so I'm assuming yes, both of them were practicing. Okay,
all right,
there we
so
go.
that's a good
Both
sign.
of them practiced.
And one last roster note for the Bills: they claimed Darius Slay off waivers from the Steelers, but he doesn't know if he wants to play. I don't know for the NFL anymore or for the Bills specifically. I know the Eagles made a claim on him too, but the Bills had a higher priority. I don't know if Slay's trying to be sneaky and find his way back to Philly or if he just is done playing. But I don't know if we're going to see Darius Slay in that secondary despite Buffalo's intentions to put him there. All right, Justin, you're up.
All right, I will take the battle for the current AFC South, the number 16 Colts at the number 14 Jacksonville Jaguars, both teams 8-4. However, let's be real, these two teams are fighting for second place because Houston's coming for the division.
Yeah, well, yes, they are. We're high on them, but yes, let's focus on this one. 2 8-4 teams, number 16 versus number 14. This is a total coin flip game for me. Justin, I think here's what I'm getting out of the Colts. I think the Colts are cooked. I think the Colts are going down. And Indianapolis fans, please, I invite you to bury me if they play a really good game here. But they have been statistically, some things have really stood out to me. Now we know the injury to Daniel Jones and how that affects him. But they have really struggled, like bottom of the league in offensive efficiency in early downs in recent weeks. And that is bad news because it's putting them in a lot of third and longs. It's putting a lot on Daniel Jones, who is compromised. And it's telling us that Jonathan Taylor is not having the otherworldly impact he was earlier in the season. What it also tells you is teams are saying, we're daring you to beat us with the passing game. They're stacking the box early on downs. And Taylor's finding less room to run. If you've noticed, I'm sure if you're a Jonathan Taylor fantasy owner, you've noticed this. He hasn't had a big game in a few weeks now. And I see the Jaguars as at home as a team that defensively can continue to put Indianapolis in a blender and put Daniel Jones, who, by the way, is now wearing a 3D cast of some kind that was designed by his former Duke teammates. What the hell is going on here? Because he's got a broken leg. So just a long story short, I think the Colts offense, we've already seen the best of it. And I think Jacksonville is going to make this a one-score game. It's still a coin flip to me, but I like Jacksonville in this by a field goal and another low-scoring game.
I mean, the secret is to get him behind the line of scrimmage, Jonathan Taylor, to get him often. And I think it was earlier in the season we brought this up that throughout this insane run of like 3+ touchdown performances, I think it was like an 18% rate of 8+ defenders in the box. That has since gone up significantly. And it shows a little bit of a lack of respect for Daniel Jones, certainly. But it also just shows that everything is flowed through play action, through backfield motion, and through the running game. And if you blow up the threat of Jonathan Taylor going somewhere, you blow up the entire machine. And I think that the Colts have to find a way to do this. But this is why you draft guys like Tyler Warren. This is why you bring in Shane Steichen. Like, he's got to find a way to get around it. And I think this is a big game for him because Campanelli is a great defensive coordinator. He's changed things in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. And that is such a turn from when the Colts were on like a historical early down efficiency pace for like the first 8 weeks of the year. This does strike me as a potential week where it's like everything that we think we currently know gets flipped on its head and the Indy wins like 32-10 or something. But the whole point is I don't expect that. So I feel like Indy, I don't know, was the first half of the season just a total liar about who the Colts really are? And were we not skeptical enough, Dan, when you brought up why is nobody skeptical about Daniel Jones? That was like a month ago.
Yeah, I know you want that. You love AFC South teams that aren't the Titans going down in flames. Yeah. It's certainly a team. There's always one team, put it this way. There's always at least one team that is flying high in September, October, November that crashes out. And I think Indianapolis is another. I love this week. I love week 14 because I feel like this is we're going to learn a lot about the Colts. They kind of have to circle the wagons here and find a way to get this done. And to the point, they've lost 3 of 4 And Jonathan Taylor is averaging, I think, 62 yards a game on the ground in those losses. They're 5-0 this year when he goes over 100. Like, they have to find a way to both feed him the ball, make him the focal point, but also give enough balance to the offense where Jacksonville can't sit on it. And that a lot of that goes back to Daniel Jones. Like, not to simplify it and make it about the quarterback, but if Jones can play efficiently, it's going to open things up. On the Jacksonville side, I really do think if they play their game and can continue to be to keep Indianapolis' offense in check, Connor, like, it comes down to, can Trevor Lawrence control himself, basically? Because that's the other thing that can get the Colts beat or get the Jaguars beat here, is the quarterback throwing the ball up for grabs and creating short fields and messing things up. I think a clean game goes Jacksonville's way, but the quarterback doesn't play clean all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to ask Baldy about this actually in a couple minutes. But in addition to that, they built that stylistic complement run game for a reason. I mean, it couldn't have just been ETN like they tried to have it for years in Jacksonville. And the reason you have this two-headed horse now is so you can ride through the sloppy Lawrence games. And I think they're doing a good job evening him out in Jacksonville. But this is a big test. I mean, Anarumo is going to come after him. They're going to be able to scramble Lawrence. And so you got to keep the ball on the ground.
And we mentioned that Sauce Gardner, his Achilles is intact, thankfully, and he won't be placed on IR, but he is not playing in this game, so that obviously affects Jacksonville as well. Charvarius Ward and how they deploy him and their scheme. So another good one. All right, let's close out the quad box. Let's do this. No Sessy here, so it's just the three of us. Let's figure out a way to pick a team here. This would be a collective quad box violation. So I don't.
Can
think
I
it's gonna
pitch
happen.
something that you guys might not care about at all?
Okay, go ahead.
All through the draft process, there were two quarterbacks looked at as the top two in the class. And now they didn't get drafted that way, but they play each other this week. And that's kind of cool. Also, Myles Garrett might break the sack record this week. He's only 4 away playing against the quarterback who's been sacked
Let's go with
most.
the number 21 Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
5-7 at the number 27 New York Jets.
Oh, sure. Your team, Dan, not my team. That's fine.
Dolphins. Yeah.
No, it's not just my team. It's also Connor's team. Connor's Miami Dolphins, baby. I mean, we got narratives in place. I just want to, you know what? Can I give a little shout out? You know, I've been a little hard on Aaron Glenn, but they're doing some things that I like. And the thing I really like that we didn't talk about as much on Sunday is their special teams. They have one of the best special teams in the NFL. I love
Banjo,
that.
baby.
Banjo, their coordinator is killing it. Austin McNamara, the punter who's named the AFC Special Teams Player of the Month. They have been getting big kick returns that have been setting up a mundane offense. They created a huge fumble on a muff punch situation that set up a score last week in their win over the Falcons. They are not a good team. They are a talent deficient team, but they play even the games they're losing. First of all, they're 3-2 in their last 5 games. So they've really been competitive, and because of the special teams, it's even the losses haven't gotten out of hand. So I just want to credit Aaron Glenn and that whole staff that they are building something a little bit here. And I'm not saying the Jets are about to become some juggernaut or finish the season on an incredible streak or anything. But from where we were at 0-7 and the vibes around this team to now, this is a team that is, and I don't really believe in momentum from one season to the next, but we were in danger as Jets fans of a 1-16, 2-15 nightmare. And now it feels like they're just a talent poor team that's battled injuries and trading away their best players, but they're fighting every week and making games close. And now they get a Dolphins team that is playing at a high level especially compared to earlier in the season, Connor.
I think that they're playing smarter football in that they're taking the ball out of Tua's hands and they're just exploring the outer reaches of what they can achieve with Achane in the running game. And so I think what's going to happen here is the Jets' EPA against the rush, I think, went up after Quinnen Williams left. There was a while there where they were like top 3 in that stretch after Quinnen Williams went to Dallas. I don't know if that's since gone down. I'll have to check. But
Bijan Robinson probably put a dent in that. I would
probably
think, last week. Yeah.
And so does that spell vulnerability? And did they put anything on tape in that game that makes Achane likely to equally break out? And also sneakily, we got Darren Waller coming back, baby. And that's one of my the red zone menace. He's going to score like 3 touchdowns again in this game.
Oh, he will.
So,
the Jets have struggled against tight ends. In fact, I think Waller had 2 touchdowns against the Jets in his first game back when these teams faced each other earlier this season. I mean, the fact that he's doing anything at this stage is incredible. But yeah, Devon Achane is the reigning AFC Player of the Month, I believe, Offensive Player of the Month. It's almost like working out for Miami in the sense that they can explore, they can make a push for the playoffs, as they are on some level. It's weird, but yes, Connor's right. There is a path, while also exploring what's life without Tua as the center point of what we're trying to do on offense, where they're almost maybe laying the ground for a future that doesn't involve the quarterback while playing the quarterback, just minimizing what his role is on the team.
100%. I mean, it's a job audition for next year where it's like, get me a GM who can come in and bring me any other quarterback on earth, and we can call it a competition in the preseason, and we can make it go how we want it to go.
All right. There we go. There is I would like an old AFC rivalry. I would like to kind of stick a spear through the heart of the Dolphins on Sunday and Connor's little fantasy. That's nice. Not even like I didn't buy into the Sessler narrative. It's like, oh, if we can just get Mike McDaniel another year. I think about it all the time. I didn't believe that for a second, but I know you want this, Connor, and I'm taking that spear and I'm throwing it through the sea, and it's cutting through the sea like a knife through hot butter, or a hot knife through regular butter. No, the butter's hot and the knife's hot. That's how fast it's cutting through the water into the heart of your Dolphins.
Yeah, you got King Triton vibes. Definitely like a hot Disney dad character. Yeah.
All right, let's take a break and we'll get to the late games. Hey, Sess Dog, how's your Christmas shopping going? Have you even started, Mark?
Well, no, I've not gotten going on that. I should.
Yeah, well, I'm all set over here. But if you're like Mark, still hunting for the right gift, I got you covered. Aura Frames. It's the gift that makes it look like you planned it all along. Thoughtful, personal, and easy. Basically, the holiday trifecta.
Yeah, I always struggle to find a truly personal gift for the people closest to me. It's like it has to be meaningful, but not another useless item that ends up in someone's closet. Don't have time for that.
Exactly, Mark. That's what's so great about Aura Frames. Last year, I gave an Aura frame to my parents, Deb and Keith. They absolutely loved it. I preloaded it with a bunch of family photos, some vacation shots, even a few funny ones of the kids. Now it sits in their living room, rotating through memories all day long.
So you're telling me you can preload the pictures, the photos before it ships?
That's exactly what I'm telling you, Mark. And you can keep adding new ones anytime from anywhere. Plus, every frame comes in a premium gift box with no price tag, so it's beautiful right out of the box. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it.
Well, you've sold me, Dan, and for a limited time, you can save on that perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code Heed the Call at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code Heed the Call, all one word, no spaces.
This deal is exclusive to our Hedonists, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support our show by mentioning us at the checkout. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we are back. We dealt with the quad box. It's been dealt with. One of these weeks, it's going to consume us and destroy us. But that is not this week. And now we move to the late games. And there's a banger. There's a big one in the late window. I like when there's one just really good game. And that's in this world, this increasingly fractured world that we live in. Anybody that's an NFL fan is going to be sitting down, focusing in on the number 7 Chicago Bears, 9-3. Do you believe in me now, Dad? How about now, Dad? Hey, Pa. Am I good enough for you now? They have that energy to them, right? At the number 4 Green Bay Packers, 8-3-1. Yes, NFC North on the line potentially here. Burkhardt and Brady on the call. I like this matchup, Connor. What stands out to you the most here in terms of a difference maker in one of the best matchups of the week?
Packers' vulnerability against explosive running plays. And I think that's the long and short of it, right? If you allow it's similar to Shanahan in that if you allow him to set the tone and to set the narrative with Monangai and with Swift and with what he wants to do in the running game, you're cooked, because everything builds off of that. And they're going to control the clock. They're going to be able to install some of the really cool play action packages. They're going to start involving all their trick plays, which Ben Johnson loves to do to kind of put a dagger in you. And that's how you fall into the trap. This has to be a huge game from a physicality standpoint for Green Bay.
On that point, the Bears might not have all of their running game. Monangai has been missing practice this week. He's banged up, so that could work out in Green Bay's favor. Also working out in Green Bay's favor is Micah Parsons right now. He is going nuts. He is up to 67 pressures. He is up to 14 sacks. He is driving this defense week after week, and Caleb Williams is going to have to deal with him. I'm curious to see how he operates against the Bears' offensive line. Darnell Wright, he kind of quietly goes about his business, does his job. He's only allowed 1 sack all season. So you have here is a good matchup. Now, it's a totally different situation when you're up against a guy like Parsons. But if you can somewhat neutralize Parsons, it could be the difference in this game. I think it's another close game. It's a good week, good week of games. But Wright is a former first-round pick. Big stage for him here.
Huge. And for Hafley too, right? Because Hafley is, I'm just kind of wrapping up my yearly coaches list, which I spend a lot of time on. And I think that guy is probably he's in that lock category at this point. Like, I think he's going to leave. I think he's going to get a job. But you have to, in these moments, utilize the best or second best defensive player in the NFL to shut down an offense where Caleb Williams is great, but they even said there's problems with the passing game. He still does freelance. Like, Micah Parsons is built to destroy someone like that. But it's up to Hafley to put him in the right spots, to get him some one-on-ones, and we'll see what happens.
I like what I've liked about Green Bay in recent weeks is they've, they're not at the level of maybe the Rams, but overall, I think there's a lot of balance to what they can do. And when Jordan Love has the type of game that he had against the Lions, it's very hard for anyone to beat them. Really, Parsons and Love anchoring each side of the attack is a big deal. So I want to see if they can continue to build on that, because I think what we saw from the Packers in the beginning of the season, what we've seen in recent weeks, is their highest gear is higher than most other teams' highest gears. I think there's only a couple teams out there that can get there now, and that's not to disrespect the Bears, because I know we keep on saying the Bears are this or they're not that, and then they keep winning. But yeah, this would be the win if Chicago finds a way to cool off Green Bay. I think they become like a huge story in the league. And I think it's a bit of an annoying subplot for Bears fans. Like, how are we not already the team that's getting all the buzz? Why everyone's talking about the Patriots or this team or that team? Like, what about us? This is the final boss to be, I think, a huge national story, and people start talking to you about more than just a team that's going to the playoffs, a team that should be reckoned with as a true Super Bowl contender. Big stage for them here.
Yeah, and the one guy we haven't brought up yet is Dennis Allen, and Jordan Love has been on another heater. And I think his costly plays have been less costly over the course of this year, which hasn't been talked enough about. But this could, it's weird, right? It could spoil the Ben Johnson party, but it's really not a Ben Johnson issue if Jordan Love cooks in this game. And he might, because I think, again, he's on a really hot streak right now.
I mentioned Monangai did not practice Wednesday. Ankle injury. Packers wide receiver Jaden Reed, he could come back. Remember, he broke the worst way to get hurt is making like an amazing touchdown catch in the end zone, and then it gets wiped out by a penalty, and then, oh, bang, my clavicle snapped as well. That's what happened to him earlier in the season. But he is a player for them, and he could be back in this game. And let's see. this is good sound. This is fun sound. Remember January 22nd when Ben Johnson was hired by the Chicago Bears, he said this about the Green Bay coach.
Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, you're talking about two guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards as the season ends here. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
I forgot how weird his face was.
I forgot about that too. That
Right?
was
I was
odd.
like, ew.
Do you know what's funny about that? If you watch that and you watch the way he delivers that in almost a halting manner, it's something that he had written down, that he probably had run by his wife and his best friend and a couple of his coach buddies. He's like, should I say this? Like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And even as he's going into it, he's still thinking, should I bail out of this? Should I parachute out of this? And then he goes through with it. And it becomes one of the hookiest parts of the press conference. And now here he has an opportunity to bang LaFleur in a big spot. That's fun.
It's like,
and you know, LaFleur didn't like it. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, all's fun and, you know, whatever. What is it? All's fair in love and war. Yeah. Like, I'm sure LaFleur was like, you little dick, I'm coming for your ass.
it's also if you take that part of it and you would put like a really horrifying like Radiohead song underneath it, like it would come off as very scary and not funny and competitive at all. Like it would, like he's almost like this is the early stages of before he becomes like a prolific stalker murderer, you know?
Yeah, we've dabbled in that on this program in the past. In fact, let's put something disturbing under Ben Johnson and play that back, Justin.
Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, talking about two guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards as the season ends here. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
The little lip bite thing, and then if it's a movie, it cuts to like a back alley, and he's beating someone to death with like
you
a
can
wine
almost
bottle.
picture him peeling off his Patrick Bateman skin mask as he's finishing those comments. So he said he was looking forward to beating LaFleur twice, and they're playing twice in 3 weeks here. So buckle up, baby. And in between those two Bears games for the Packers is the Denver Broncos. So this is a big stretch for Green Bay as they look to lock up both the division and potentially a bye, and for the Bears and the head coach, a major chance to make a statement. You gotta love it. That was terrifying. Holy shit. Let's end with something lighter about Ben Johnson. Remember the Wiener Circle, which is a popular hot dog chain in Chicago.
Stand, not even a chain. Just like
it's a stand. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, all you people out there from Illinois and my producer. That if Ben Johnson took his shirt off, everybody would get free hot dogs. Here's the video. Check it out on YouTube. Smash the subscribe. Get us to 30K so we can hear about Connor and Sean Payton. So they kept their word. And I like the shot because, first of all, this feels so Chicago. All the people, the street, the snow on the side of the road, everybody's freezing their balls off. Everybody's wearing hats. Nobody gives a shit. And everybody's getting free hot dogs. So it's just like an exciting time to be a Bears fan, and I feel like football's a little better when football's good in Chicago.
I see that one guy that's like, I don't know, about 45 people deep, and he's got the baby, and that guy's not getting a hot dog. He's not making it there. No way.
No, the baby's
gonna shut that down.
Yep. Ooh, Bird's hot chicken. I bet that's tasty. Let's go to Chicago.
We should.
Let's all move to Chicago together. Get a condo on the lake there.
Oh wow! It's around the corner too.
It's around look at that! See,
shit.
there's got to be limits to how long you're willing to wait for a hot dog. But you know what? Free stuff, man. I'll tell you something about free stuff. There was a Mexican cantina place that opened in our town a couple of months back, and part of their promotion was free breakfast burrito. And so it was like 8 a.m. free breakfast burrito. So I hopped in the car. It's like, maybe I'll pick it up for the wife and I. And I saw a line that was, a quarter of that, but it was like going down the street. I'm like, I'm not waiting in line. Like, how much would if the burrito cost $12, right? Like, is my time worth the $12 standing there making conversation or just having my AirPods in, standing there? No. So no. I don't know. But some people have different viewpoints on free stuff and the need for it.
Time is your most valuable asset in life. You can't put a price on time. So
give yourself a round of applause on that one, Justin. Very nice. Let's throw it to the ageless Brian Baldinger. All right, we're now joined by Odyssey NFL insider Brian Baldinger, host of the Best Football Show podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. What's up, Baldy?
Dan, Conor, I see we're joined here. It's just it's a free diving Thursday. You got to get in the water on a day like today.
Yeah, and as I understand, the waters were particularly crisp on this Thursday.
Yeah. I always say this. Jimmy Buffett said something like this too. A bad day free diving is better than a good day doing anything else. And so today was a good day, man.
Let me ask you a question, Baldy, because you are, we all look up to you, Baldy. We see you in some ways as the ultimate male. And there have been studies out in the sea, especially with the advent of drones and various other technologies, that let us know that surfers like yourself, people that go out in the sea and whatever you do there, the sharks are actually everywhere. We used to think maybe there's a shark every once in a while, but they're kind of all around us. They don't really want much to do with us, but they're also sharks with teeth that are man-eaters, some of them. Has that ever given you, the ultimate male, any level of concern or pause?
No, I went diving. I went looking for them in Jupiter, Florida. We actually chummed the water to get them to come out of the depths. I'm not a big fan of some sharks. Bull sharks, I'm not a big fan of because they're just you just don't know what they're going to do. They're like bipolar, they're not just normal. So but the bull sharks were swarming, and I don't know, I felt right at home with them. I was filming them. They were checking me out. They were eating the chum. It was a good day. I'd actually called Steve Bisciotti because I was in Jupiter. I was like, Steve, you want to come out? And he's like, I think I'll golf today, Baldy. I
don't even want to talk about football right now. I just want to keep talking about this. Baldy, I always thought the most honorable death, Baldy, in cinema was Robert Shaw's character Quint in Jaws. A man who lived his life on the sea, and the great beast got the best of him at the end, but he went out eaten alive, but you could tell he wasn't scared. It was almost like his destiny. I feel like if you ever came face to face with a shark, you would have maybe it would work out better for you than old Quint, but I don't think you'd be afraid.
He had the ultimate line in Jaws, and he said, "I can find him for 5,000, but I can capture him and kill him for 10." I always wanted to be that guy.
I think there's a football analogy in there somewhere.
Somewhere in there.
All right, I guess we'll talk about football. What the hell? All right. On our Wednesday show, Baldy, I talked about we dug into the NFC playoff picture and all those great teams in there. And there's going to be a good or even great team on the outside looking in at the end of the regular season. The AFC is a little weirder, right? And a lot of that is because the typical AFC superpowers, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, are scuffling. The Bengals had a hell of a time trying to survive without Burrow, and now we'll see what happens. Which one to you is the best position to not only make the playoffs, but get on a run and kind of restore what we've thought about them in the last 3 or 4 seasons?
The Chiefs played Houston this weekend, and it's gonna, it might just separate. And I haven't seen a defense. In fact, Houston's defense reminds me of like a shark feeding. Honestly, like nobody plays defense like Houston. You don't need stats to support it and verify. You just have to watch it. And they're just violent in what they do, and they're really good. Everybody tackles. Kamari Lassiter, it doesn't matter who it is. They all tackle, and they're so simple. They just play a 4-man front, single high safety, and they just get after you. Jonathan Taylor, he couldn't find any running room last week. I feel like if Houston can score 20 points, if they can score 20, there's nobody they can't beat. I mean, I kind of feel like, and they've got a 3 or 4 game win streak going. I feel like they could be a dangerous team right now. And nobody's really talking about Houston because you want to talk about the other teams in the AFC South, which is fine. But, they just went into Indy and they just basically took them apart. So I don't know, that's a team that I got my eye on right now.
Do you think it's emblematic at all of, you look at Houston, you looked at Minnesota last year, the Rams to some degree this year, there's that guerrilla mentality for all these defenses. The quarterbacks who seem to be more post-snap players are struggling, and Mahomes is kind of the ultimate by-time post-snap player. Do you think he has to adjust the way that he plays in order to get by a defense like Houston at this point?
It's a good question. It's a good question, Connor. I hadn't really thought about it. I do think, like Bo Nix plays like that. He plays completely off schedule, and he's really good at it. He doesn't get sacked. He doesn't get hurt. Knock on wood, we need him. We need young quarterbacks. But he just, it's the anti-Sean Payton quarterback, Sean's never coached a guy like this, but he's coaching him with a bunch of young guys. I think there's a place for it because the big plays happen off schedule. It seems like in this league, every once in a while, you'll throw a go ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba and, just beat somebody on time, but we don't see that very often. Maybe George Pickens on occasion. But there doesn't seem to be enough of those type of plays. They seem to be off schedule is when the big plays happen right now.
While we're on the topic of the AFC South, I think part of the reason maybe some people aren't giving the Texans more buzz right now is that the AFC South kind of gets a tax a little bit. It's like an AFC South tax because they're a little juice deficient over the years. But you look at it this year, I'm not saying I see a Super Bowl contender coming out of there, but I'm on the same page with you on Houston. They keep an eye on them, especially the way Stroud came back and really played well down the stretch in his return to action. But you have the Colts there and you have the Jaguars. And I think Jaguars fans are the most annoyed right now because nobody's talking about the Jaguars and they're actually leading the division. I know you did a Baldy breakdown about their trench play. Yeah. Your thoughts on them in recent weeks as they've stacked up some W's?
You just need to spend 5 minutes, with Liam Cohen, and you're impressed. He's just an impressive guy. Just the way his command, it reminds me actually a lot of Sean McVay. Just his overall command, whether it's the media, the team, struggling players. He just has a unique style. Anthony Campanile has been a good fit for that. Last year, it used to literally annoy me watching Jacksonville play defense. I'm like, does anybody talk to anybody? Because guys would just be wide open, and you go, it was awful to watch. And you don't see that this year. That's gone. And then, they're just, Baselli, the whole group, he's Gladstone. They're just as an impressive group of people. And I think the team has bought in. And, I thought Jacoby Myers was actually the perfect fit for that offense because he sort of is their version of Puka. Just a tough guy, do the blocking, do the dirty work, not going to just blow you away. But he's such a role for those kind of players that you need 10 yards and first down. He'll get you 10 yards and first down.
With the Jags, someone had brought up the Trevor Lawrence and almost like Winstonian comparison where we just don't know what we're going to get from him on a week-to-week basis. Do you see a quarterback that has the ability to be reined in and has the ability to be consistent week in and week out, or is the good part of him the unknown a little bit and just allowing him to be Trevor Lawrence?
He's been wildly inconsistent, Connor, as that's you're spot on. I think coaching matters, how you call plays, who your personnel is, getting the tight end back, Strange, getting Jacoby Myers in, very dependable targets. I think that helps. I think the running game, the commitment to the run game helps. I think he's just not one of those guys that can just go out there and carve you up. It's, we thought he was going to be that guy coming out of Georgia and coming out of Clemson, a high school in Georgia. We thought it was a guarantee, but he's just been very inconsistent like that. But I think the more help they get around him, the better he gets, and the more confident he plays like he did last week.
Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Did you see, speaking of Liam Cohen, there was a little bit of a controversy. Apparently the punter of the Jaguars made a death threat toward another player. And if you remember, Robert Saleh had threatened Cohen, and then everyone was, hand-wringing about it. And then Liam Cohen spoke on it. Do we have that, Justin?
I've probably heard that said 100 times, from players in games. So whatever.
So a bit of a shrug. I've heard it hundreds of times from players in games. You played, Baldy. Death threats common on the field in the NFL?
I never made any. It was just a
You're
game.
A man of peace.
It's just a game. I haven't made any death threats, period, to anybody, although some probably were deserving of it. I don't remember anybody ever threatening me like that, like with, death do you part. I don't recall that.
We heard in recent weeks too. There was a player who called another player a hoe and said that the reason that the player was a hoe is because he said something that crossed the line, but he didn't specify. I guess along those lines, what stands out to you as something that you heard on the field that you would classify as crossing the line, like something someone said in the heat of the game where you were like, that's messed up to say. That's just a really messed up.
Yeah, to use a baseball analogy on that, it's like the umpire would have the magic word. So if you don't say the magic word to the umpire, you won't get tossed. But once you do that, you're gone. Your ass is in the jackpot if you don't throw the guy out. Well, yeah, great question for Connor. Baldy, your thoughts?
I guess, not just football, but if anybody says something derogatory about your mom, like that's crossing the line. Like that's, moms are sacred. Like they never should ever be talked badly about. So if anybody ever did that, at a gas station or on a football field or out there diving in the ocean, if somebody probably said something derogatory about my mom, that probably would get the worst out of me.
That's fair. I wonder, that was my guess, either a mom or a girlfriend or a spouse, if they had some shared past.
I've seen that. I've seen that in the stands where the wife and the girlfriend both saw each other and went at it. Like that happened in Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium one day when I was with the Eagles. And that was way more entertaining than the game we were playing because we were all watching.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you take those two individuals, take them down to the tank in the bottom of the Veterans Memorial Stadium, and then we just gather around like pit fighter.
Oh yeah, it's you can charge you can charge like I don't know, some big dollars for that.
All right, finally, before we let you go, everybody loves a big man touchdown. Tristan Wirfs had one for the Bucs in Week 13. According to our research, you had a 37-yard reception, your only career catch. We would fly that up right now if we could, but the warlords at NFL Media would come for us, so we're not. So people just got to imagine a young Baldy making a glorious big gainers. Your memories of that, and if it left you yearning for more after it was over.
Well, yes, it did. And so there's two stories. One was the catch, which was in Green Bay, Lambeau Field, legendary Lambeau Field. And in 1988, Ron Meyer was our coach in Indianapolis. And when we would get it, we started poor, but we finished strong. And we won 8 of our last 10. And we went to a wishbone when we would get the lead in the fourth quarter. And they asked me to go from starting guard to a tight end position. And I said I would play tight end in the wishbone because they really wanted to seal the edge. We had Dickerson, Albert Bentley. We had good running backs. So I said, look, I'll go and play tight end for you, but you got to put a pass in for me. I'm an athlete. Like I can catch. And they said, deal. So I made a deal with Ron Meyer, and they called my number at Lambeau Field. And, I blocked and went out, ran my corner route, and they threw it to me. And, I'm glad you didn't put the video up because the safety blew me up.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, how come it's not a touchdown? But yeah, now I know.
Well, they did call that number again, and it was against the Bears. And damn that Singletary, if he didn't pass interfere with me as I'm going to get the ball. And I could have been Tristan Wirfs. I could have had my day, and that Singletary messed it all up by interfering with me.
That was like when Walter Payton didn't score in 20, and he was sulking after the game.
I felt just like Walter. Yes.
All right, Baldy. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football and the sea.
Yep. Nice to meet you, Connor, as well.
You too, Baldy.
Hey, guys. Yep. Take care.
That was Odyssey NFL insider Brian Baldinger, host of the Best Football Show podcast. Insider calls are brought to you by Nationwide for your insurance and financial needs. Nationwide is on your side. Might get in trouble for that. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, Mark, have you heard of Gold Belly?
Yeah, from you, but I don't know if our listeners have heard about it.
Okay, for anyone who hasn't heard of Goldbelly, know this. I've been ordering from them for a while now, and honestly, it's kind of magical. Goldbelly gives you access to the most iconic, the most famous foods from restaurants all across the United States, and they ship them right to your door. It's perfect for the holidays, too. You should have seen how impressed my family was when we brought out a red velvet cheesecake from Junior's that I had ordered through Goldbelly. I think it was the first time my dad was truly proud of me. It completely stole the show.
Well, that's a positive story. I mean, yeah, it sounds great. I've always been a little skeptical, though, about ordering food online, right?
Me too, Mark. But from the moment our Goldbelly order arrived, perfectly packaged and tasting exactly like it would, straight from the bakery, I was blown away. The quality was incredible, and seeing everyone's faces when we dug into it reminded me why food, Cessy, can create such unforgettable memories. This year, I'm eyeing Ina Garten's coconut cake for holiday hosting, and it's something that will make the season feel extra special and indulgent. I can't wait to share it with my fam.
Well, this holiday season, if you're looking for that perfect gift for everyone on your list, or you want to impress your friends and family with an unforgettable meal and make hosting a holiday gathering a breeze this year, go to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code HTC. That's goldbelly.com, code HTC for 20% off your first order.
All right, we're back. Good times with Baldy. So just want to go sea diving with Brian Baldinger just once, Connor. Just once. He could show us so much about the world.
Oh, yeah. And just as a man to chum the waters, as he's saying it, before these sharks are coming, I don't know what that is. Is he cutting himself and bleeding into the ocean so that the sharks come? Are you putting dead fish in there to get them to come after you? What's happening here? I don't know.
Yeah, he's literally just like Roy Scheider did in Jaws. They're trying to bring the shark to them. That's Baldy in a nutshell. All right, let's get to the other ones. And if your team's in here and you're pissed off, it's not our fault. It's your fault. Well, not your fault either. It's their fault. All right, let's start. Bad transition because the number 2 Seahawks deserve to be at the top of any conversation. They were one of the best teams in the league, maybe the best. Number 2 in the power rankings at 9-3. But it's the Falcons that puts them down here, and the other ones this week. The number 26 Falcons, 4-8. And we talked about Darnold and with Michael Sean Dugar on Wednesday's show, and it feels like the only thing that can hold the Seahawks back is the quarterback being unable to protect the football. Everything else is all systems go for this team, Connor, and I think the Falcons are going to have their hands full, especially Kirk Cousins against that pass rush.
I agree with you, although just looking at Seattle this year, where is their Rams Panthers loss? You know what I mean? Where is their one stupid, inexplicable loss that they've had this season? They haven't had it yet, and no team is infallible. And what if this is the one game? I just have a weird feeling that this is the egg laying game for them, because they lost to San Francisco, Tampa Bay, and the Rams.
Okay.
Every other, and this is the week that we're all kind of pitchforking and we're saying Raheem Morris is going to get fired after this game and it's all going to end. What if this is just the Kirk Cousins 4-tutty berserker game that makes absolutely no sense, and then after the week after this you go back to normal? You need to build that in on almost any team schedule. It always
I like
happens.
I like where you're coming from. That if it's gonna be that type of situation, traveling across the country against a Falcons defense that does have a pass rush but also blitzes at the high one of the highest rates in the NFL. Sam Darnold has been like a Two-Face scenario.
Yeah.
Batman reference.
Caden
where
Ellis.
He's killed it against the blitz this year. He's also been killed by the blitz this year with decision making. Maybe you get the wrong side of it for Darnold, and then there will be a lot of hand wringing about Darnold coming out of this week. But anyway, I like the Seahawks, but I like where you're going on that. All right, the number 31 Titans. Sorry, Justin, that they're here, but it's the number 31 Titans against the number 29 Browns, and I don't know, man. We don't even get to what we had last week, which was positive Cam Ward buzz. They scored 3 points last week, so the offense is back in the sewer. And Shedeur Sanders' mileage varies on how much you want to talk about that dude, especially with Deshaun Watson designated to return from the PUP list. Oh, maybe he's going to play by the end of the year. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, my thing I'm watching for in this game, Myles Garrett has 19 sacks. The record is 22.5 sacks. Garrett has 14 in his last 5 games. That would be a great season for any other pass rusher in the NFL. That's 5 games. In that span, he has a 4-sack game and a 5-sack game. Can he have another 4-sack game and set the record in week 14? That, I think, is very possible. Cam Ward been sacked more than any quarterback in football.
Okay. I'm gonna stay on the Brown side too. I saw Michael Irvin had a good little soundbite on this. There was a shot of Jerry Jeudy yelling at Shedeur Sanders on the sideline, and Irvin pointed out, you can't do that. You do not. There's a pecking order in a roster. The quarterback doesn't get screamed at by the wide receiver. Brown's got to get guys like Jerry Jeudy off this roster. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is a guy that's a long-term guy on this roster, but Jeudy is a headache. Steve Smith had that thing nailed from the start. The Browns have to clean up the entire operation.
He had that awful fumble in that Raiders game that was one of the funniest ones I've seen all year.
Brutal.
Just very quickly, Justin was on with friend of the program, Bill Barnwell, on Monday, and he asked me what team could be the Patriots of next year. We both universally agreed the Titans have the ingredients to turn it around. So there you go.
Nice.
Check out
I agree
Bill
with that.
Barnwell show.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. I do think Ward played his worst game of the season last week. Let's see if he can bounce back. One more thing. I know we're on time here.
Wait,
but
I thought that Barnwell saying something positive about the Titans was about the Titans, but Justin positioned that as like Bill Barnwell said something positive about Justin Graver. It's like, thanks, Bill.
Well, Bill is like one of the smartest people I know, and so I just thought that Justin would like that. Like if I say it, it's like, okay, Wad. But like Bill, like is
sure,
yeah.
No, we pick up what you're putting down.
There's some gravity to that,
and I take it personally. So thank you, Bill. In
a positive way.
I just want to close this game with one last note. Since you mentioned the Jets punter won AFC Special Teams Player of the Month, congratulations to him. Titans rookie returner Shimere Dike averaged 26.4 yards per punt return. That's over 5 yards more than his league-leading 21.2 yards.
We have an entire format to the program.
And
we're
2 return touchdowns in November.
We're busting formatting for this.
Snubbed. He was snubbed. That's all. Congrats
for a guy
to your punter.
who was snubbed for Special Teams Player of the Week. 2
punt return touchdowns in November. That leads the NFL in November. Hey.
Oh, Justin.
We can move on. It's all good.
Up next, the number 24 Commanders, 3-9 at the number 25 Vikings, 4-8. I mean, at this point, this is just a rubbernecking situation, right? Jaden Daniels practiced in full on Thursday, so keep an eye on that. If Daniels is playing, it makes things a little bit more interesting, even though the Commanders season is over. J.J. McCarthy is set to return after missing 1 week with a concussion. I saw a couple crazy tweets, Connor, about how bad Brosmer in the offense was last week against the Seahawks. Can you fire up these tweets, Justin? Here's one. Saw this from Bleacher Report. That the Vikings QBR in week 12, J.J. McCarthy, 34.2. Brosmer in week 13, 32.8. QBR, if you spike the ball every play, 39.6. And then speaking of Bill Barnwell, speak of the devil. Vikings finished at negative 0.79 EPA per play on offense, third worst game of the year behind Raiders, Chiefs, and Bengals, Vikings. For reference, the COVID game where the Broncos didn't have a quarterback and started wide receiver Kendall Hinton against the Saints was negative 0.80 EPA per play. So historically shitty game for the Vikings. Anything else on this one?
Watch it. The Commanders' offense, man. I mean, we're starting to get head coaching stuff coming around. Cliff Kingsbury was a candidate last year. Do they have anybody on that roster who can work with Jaden and keep that offense rolling? I don't know, because they just lost their quarterbacks coach to Stanford, to Vita Pritchard, who became the head coach at Stanford. So watch out.
The number 30 Saints, 2-10 at the number 18 Buccaneers, 7-5. This is the Harlan Green call. This is a nice spot, you would think, for the Buccaneers to pad their win total and get a little more breathing room in the NFC South. But maybe, do they have a hideous loss on their schedule yet this year, Connor?
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, it's easy to say that it's going to happen at some point in the week. It happens every week, but this one I think is particularly interesting. Baker Mayfield, remember him mouthing off against the Saints earlier this year? They go down and they play not a perfect game, a little bit of an incomplete game against the Saints the last time. What if New Orleans, like this is the game where the ball starts rolling for them a little bit. They start playing a little bit better. I mean, the stats don't support it in any meaningful way, but that's why we play the game.
Mike Evans getting closer, returning. Chris Godwin is back. Bucky Irving is back. Did you know that the offense is 24th in EPA per play for the Bucs? Like they've really, who's really gone a little bit cold? Emeka Egbuka. I feel like it might line up exactly with Gronk butchering his name on Fox, but that chemistry, which was so on fire to start the season, has gone a little bit cold with I believe a hamstring injury in the mix there as well. Let's see, and Alvin Kamara is questionable after missing week 13 with a knee issue. So maybe get a Tyler Shuck game here, but yeah, heavy favorites I would imagine the Bucs in this game. Up next, the number 6 Broncos 10-2 at the number 32 Raiders 2-10. This, I think, the game here. The only thing that interests me about this game, Connor, is can the Broncos get out of it healthy? Number one, and number two, this really will test the limits of Denver playing down to their opponent, and we know they can get up for a big game, but we've seen. And Bo Nix is at the front of this as an issue. We've seen them come down against bad teams and then need to turn it on late to finish off games, which is why somebody like Sessy is having them number 10 in the power rankings despite being 10-2. You should mop the floor with the Raiders because they're not even an NFL team right now. You better.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the long and short of it. Slight improvement after changing out the offensive coordinator with Chip Kelly and then the typical smear job of him on the way out, which I don't buy at all. But
are you on Chip Kelly's payroll? Do you get anything for all this?
No, I would. I mean, I'll take it if he wants. But no, you saw that stuff with Peter Schrager on Monday Night Football that he talks to Tom Brady. Who the hell knows what Tom Brady's asking him to call? So I don't know what's going on over there. But anyway, the offense had a slight improvement with Olsen in the seat, but this should be a laugher the whole way.
All right, and finally in the rundown, the number 1 Los Angeles Rams 9-3 at the number 23 Cardinals 3-9. Albert and Vilma, Jesus Christ, on the call. I don't know. It's going to be another tough day to be Jason Zumwalt and an Arizona Cardinals fan because when great teams like the Rams have a bad game, they got their stunning loss last week in Charlotte. They usually kick the shit out of their next opponent, and lo and behold, there's the 3-9 Cardinals waiting to take their beating. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm interested to see. This is one of those games where Sean McVay might come up with something, right? Like this is where you try things. You probably have the time and the space to be able to move your pieces around, see what you got after this, break down what happened the week before and kind of mess around with it a little bit. So I think these are kind of fun games because in the dark like that, like Sean Payton will cook a little bit. So let's see what he comes up with,
Jacoby Brissett continues to play well, and I saw this as a Michael Wilson fantasy owner, a waiver wire scrap heap pickup. Seeing Marvin Harrison back on the shelf with a heel injury tells me we're going to get one of those games where McBride and Wilson combine for 23 targets in this game and probably a touchdown or two, but probably will be in garbage time, and maybe, just maybe, it will lead to Arizona Cardinals gear being sent to the Hall of Fame again. Congratulations. By the way, they put Kyler Murray in mothballs. He's past the window for IR. They're not even practicing him. And then when they ask the coach about, what's going on with Kyler Murray? It's like, it's just not coming along quite as we hoped, but we hope to get him back. It's like, okay.
Dope as hell.
Yeah, it's dope as hell. He's trying his best, but we'll see him when we see him.
The supposed, right? You never want to you never want to go after somebody like with the McCarthy thing. If it was a self-reported concussion, you would hate to call it anything nefarious. But the seeming weaponization of the IR this year has been fascinating to watch. I mean, it's Major League Baseball-esque at this point.
Yeah, it is. It needs to be studied. All right, that's it. That's the other ones for Week 14. Let's now move to the competition portion of the Thursday program, the blind locks. And I know we all killed it last week in the competition. I threw out a rule change, and lo and behold, everyone picked Road Warriors that won. And Rule change tied with Dan at 8-5 atop the standings. You gotta love it, Connor. You know why? Because I know you're nervous about this, but I love it. Like when the pressure's on, you get the best of the old Zeuser. So like when I pick, it's with absolute confidence, and I know you're running scared. And it's only a matter of time now until I pass you. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know there's no question in my mind that when my facade starts to crumble emotionally, I am just a piece of wet cardboard. And this is what's been happening to me of late. Justin, are we sure though that I just want to go back and track? I didn't know that a win tied us. We were tied going into last week too.
We did. I caught you last week.
You caught me last week. Okay.
Correct.
Maybe that was the,
yeah. And Mark is at 7-6. And Gravy at 6-7, so it's wide open. It's like the AFC playoff picture with all these ham and eggers fighting for supremacy. Let's now go to the games. Again, if you're not aware, we do not know the spreads. Pick anyone we want, but if we pick a team that is favored by 5 points or more, we have to cover double that number. Otherwise, if you stay out of that danger zone, you just got to get the game right. So, Connor, do you want to get us going here?
Oh boy. Yes. I think it's important to dance with the date that you brought to the party. And so I will take the Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets.
Okay. I like that. I think it's a sound pick.
Come on, baby.
I think you'll be safe on that one. Geez, this is a tough week.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a tough week. Is Green Bay?
There's one that I'm looking at right now that I wish I went after a little bit more, if I'm being honest. But yeah, this week looks hellacious.
All right, this is where I'm going to go. Because I was thinking about backing up my big talk around the Colts free fall, but I just don't trust Trevor Lawrence not to dynamite that up, even though I do like Jacksonville in that game. So what I will do, I'll go with the team that I think is playing at a very high level at home, and I'm still not quite all the way there on the Bears, although I'm getting there, okay, Bears fans? But I'm going to take the Packers at home against Chicago, and I think that's going to be a spread of about 3 to 4.5. So I think I'm going to be okay.
Good luck to you. I will take.
Thank you, Justin.
I really wanted to lock up the Eagles, especially with the uncertainty around Herbert, but the Jalen Carter thing has me kind of scared off.
Oh, you mean the double shoulder surgery he's having in Week 14? Well, week to week, we'll see how he's. They want him close to 100% for the playoffs, as long as my double shoulder surgery heals. Unless he got like pimples removed, I feel like this is an ominous procedure.
Yeah. So I'm going to stay away from that. And instead, I'm going to, you said early in the show, we started this show after TNF by talking about Sunday night, Texans at Chiefs. And you were like, I really like the Texans. I'm not going to lock them up, but I really like them. And you said, oh, Justin's nodding. I was nodding because I was like, I am going to lock them up.
Okay.
Give me the Houston Texans to virtually kind of effectively end the season for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
And that's also, Larry, I got to say, I'm impressed because you do typically go against any AFC South teams. So maybe this is a reverse jinx. Maybe that's what's happening here.
No, I'm trying to get to 500. So I need to pick a team I think will win.
You're a bit of a because you're in a bit of a must-win situation at this point as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, playoffs are going to count. We're going to run straight through the playoffs for this competition. But if either Connor or myself win and you lose, you're going to be 4 games out, I think, 3 games out with not a lot of time left. So that's a big one for you. We'll get Mark's offline and let you all know where Sessler goes with his choice. And now, without further ado, let's make sure we're all safe in terms of the lock zone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, no! Shit!
Wow.
Green Bay's getting 6.5?
How?
Giving, yes, they are.
They're giving. Oh,
How?
my God.
Holy shit.
Wow. The disrespect of the Chicago Bears extends to Vegas. I am blown away.
Holy
that I need to cover 13. Oh, that's not good at all. Now, the last time this happened to me, the Bills covered by 1 point. Wow. Wow. Why is that? How can that happen? Money's going Green Bay's side right now. With the people are not buying in on Chicago.
This happened last week. The Bears were a 7-point dog to Philly on
Black
Black
then
Friday.
they beat Philly handily.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's what's stunning to me, because if this would
Number
happen
one
last
seed in
week,
the
I'd be like,
NFC.
okay. But I guess that also speaks and where they stand.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So I'm in a little bit of trouble there. This is a golden opportunity for the Orr man and everyone else. So
You need your Jets to bail you out. What a little subplot to this week. Come on. You got to love it.
I got to root for the Jets a little bit harder.
I hate this team.
And Casey laying 3.5. Okay. See, that's the number I thought the Packers were going to be laying against the Bears. That's crazy. All right. I ate shit on that one. Let's see what happens. All right, everybody. If you want the sister program of this preview, head over to the Patreon, www.patreon.com/heedthecall, where the 3 of us will be handling the Patreon draft. Until then, and if you're not there, check us out Sunday night, the flagship program, where we recap every game we just previewed. And thank you for your loyal hedonism. And until next time, do what you must. Heed the call.